It's the final session of the day, guys. The final session of the 2020, favorite 2020 summit. We need a little energy, so we got a little dance party going on. All right, I promise I'll bring it back down to earth here in a second. This is my process, and as a 1-3, we were just talking about our processes. This is my process so that I can show up for you guys in the light that you need. This is my behind the scenes. All right, I told you I'd bring it back down to normal. I promise. We will come back to normal. But guys, this is, and I said this the last time as well, this is something that is very near and dear to me. Music has always been a part of my life. No matter what level of my life I've been in, I have always had music as a part of my life, and it's not going to stop. And so here, I'm just showing you my process. I'm showing you guys behind the scenes of what's going on in the background when I'm getting ready to get an interview started with Kauakea Winston. I am super excited. As I told you guys, this is kind of a forecasting of what are some of the things that are coming down the pipelines in terms of where the Recalibrate and Rise Summit is going. To me, obviously being a 1-3 manifesting generator, you guys know I am all about the information, all about the experimentation, and then also being the martyr to bring it all to you guys. So part of that to me is dissecting what human design is. And if you look at what human design is, it is so much more than the sum of its parts, right? So we are going to be dissecting, and maybe in one of these facets, we're going to actually go down the facets of what makes up human design. And so astrology, Western astrology to be specific, is one of those. And Kauakea Winston is going to be one of our experts here. She is a Western astrologer and an energy healer who has been teaching at the Sacred Path of Healing School since 2004. As an assistant director of a 3-year program, she had developed the curriculum to enhance lifestyle and diet, helping students find their authentic voice. She also teaches a playful interactive astrology class, which is I'm so super excited about because this is one of my goals this year is to learn astrology, in which her best in mystery school astrology, she has these astro cards in a workbook, which you guys are going to get to see. So get excited. Her approach to astrology is finding compassion for oneself and for one another for this earthly journey. And as business owners, how more true can it be than to have compassion for ourselves? Because again, we all are on a journey, and none of us are perfect, and that's the point. We have to find the compassion for ourselves and then also for others. She offers energy and sound healing, primarily focusing on the chakra systems, which of course we all know is a part of human design as well. And she combines that with astrology, with the teachings of the Sacred Path Healing School. She offers her services both in the Big Island and Oahu, which, guys, you know how much I am jealous right now because I'm sitting here in the freezing cold Michigan. But she does it as well via Zoom, like she is here with us conferencing worldwide. She's a member of the OPA, the Organization of Professional Astrologers, and is available to give talks in person or online. So I'm super excited because Kauakea is here to talk to us about, oh, my slides are going too fast, astrology as a compassion practice. So the elements of earth and water, which are yin and fire, and air, which are yang, describe the basic energies of the zodiac. Yin signs require more stability and security, while yang signs require more freedom and independence. We'll dive into the tools to help us work with these energies in a conscious way. She will be sharing her Vesta Mystery School Astro cards, as I said before, which also describe each sign at its best and when stressed. Heaven knows we need that as business owners again. So when we can better understand ourselves and one another, stress response based, even on just the simple thing as our sun signs, we can develop a more compassionate understanding of human nature. So guys, do me a favor. Welcome Kauakea to the room. Thank you for being here, darling. Say hello.
Aloha. That was the most wonderful introduction. Thank you so much, Lia. And I love it that we have this Hawaii connection. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was showing Lia before we got on the call a little piece of aloha.
No,
Beautiful.
She wasn't showing it to me. She was making me jealous. That's what she was.
But my husband brought me home.
Here, people.
I wish you could all smell it right there, but so yeah, I'm here on the Big Island. I'm on the north shore of the Big Island in Honoka'a, a little town of 3,000 people, and I'm doing a lot of things on Zoom these days. So I have had one human design reading, and I'm a 3-5 generator, and that's about all I know. And we're going to go more into that later. Astrologically, I'm a Virgo, and I have a Aries moon and a Scorpio rising. And so, you know, when I graduated from Sacred Path Healing School in 2004, I was married to a beautiful shaman astrologer, Fodiaba, at that time. And we started teaching astrology at the school the following year. And I went on an amazing journey for 9 years with Fodiaba, who passed from cancer in 2008. But he took me into astrology in very unusual ways. He would follow the moon very closely. He would do pranayama breathing when the moon was void of course. He would practice meditation and all kinds of fasting to tune into moon cycles, to really bring balance to the divine feminine. And so I just have been on this gigantic journey with astrology as a living practice, not just on paper, not just, you know, ideas, but really truly living it. And so, you know, the different books I've used to teach astrology over the years, I realized for the students who are at Sacred Path Healing School, we're learning chakra systems and the defense patterns of the chakras. And we're learning so many, you know, like human design, all these levels and layers. And so what I did with Vesta Mystery School is I simplified everything by creating hands-on learning cards and a workbook that you lay the cards in order to interpret your own astrology chart. And as a Virgo, many people know that, you know, that can be a really critical sign, and learning how to get out of what I call Virgo jail, which is to lead the really creative life and not be trying to perfect and put too much effort into everything you touch, has been my own compassion practice with astrology. Having an Aries moon, you know, the compassion practice has been like the rush and that excitement of Aries. And, you know, Aries is that first fire sign. So it wants to light the match. It wants to go, you know, start it, do it. And so learning how to be compassionate with myself, that I'm always excited and want to start things, and completing things sometimes takes, you know, more effort. And so I have to be patient with my own Aries moon and the way I jump in, and then later realize, okay, let's see what I really need to do here beyond the initial excitement. And so I'm just sharing with you a little about my own compassion practice towards myself. Scorpio, my rising sign, that water sign that is really deep in the emotional waters, going through a grief process with this incredible man that I was so deeply in love with, took me for many years into the study and the practice of grief, and doing a lot of writing and a lot of processing and helping a lot of people through grief processes. And so all of it is just so powerful on the journey. And I call it the rabbit hole. Like, people can fall in the astrology rabbit hole and you're just overwhelmed with the details, with the numbers. I mean, I'm sure it's the same thing with human design. You can just go too far in your head with it instead of living it in your body and living it in your life. And so one of the gifts that on my profile page on Lia's homepage on this is a download called the Healing Response to the Zodiac. And it's a single page that if you sign up, it will email you the 12 signs of the Zodiac and what element, which is the very first thing. If you're really learning astrology, you want to learn the 12 signs in their order and identify the fire signs, the earth signs, the air signs, and the water signs. And that's the order they're in our wheel. And they just do it 3 times. They go fire, Aries, earth, Taurus, air, Gemini, and water, Cancer. And then they do that again 2 more times in the wheel. And by learning in the workplace, which is what we've been talking about, Lia and I, that, you know, just by knowing someone's sun sign, you can't assume in the workplace people are going to want to talk astro talk with you. So, you know, you may need to just ask them, hey, when's your birthday? And look it up to know even their sun sign. And to just know that, like, wow, this is an earth sign person. I can really count on them. I can really, you know, I always say, if you want, make sure something gets done, give it to a Capricorn. You know, if you need somebody detail oriented, give it to a Virgo. You know, if you need somebody who's really going to be devoted and steadfast, give it to a Taurus, you know. So by knowing just the earth signs, if you need somebody who's going to fire the team up, bring in somebody with a fire sign. And if you need more emotional sensitivity, find a water sign, you know, Cancer and Scorpio and Pisces. And so learning just to work with the fundamental polarities, which Lia mentioned, the water and earth signs are yin. They will always want more stability and security. The fire and the air signs are yang. They need freedom and independence. And so again, we just need to be accepting of our nature. You know, this is nature. These are the cycles of nature. This is the way for a natural life. And to try to make it something that it's not is just going to frustrate you and everyone else. And so by just knowing someone's sun sign, you can really look for their strengths and remind them of their strengths, encourage them with their strengths. And then also realize, like, oh man, she's an Aries. She's just not completing things, or but unlike Lia, who's completing things here.
Out on something here. All of a sudden, I'm feeling called out. What's going on here?
Oh, you're completing. We're completing right now. Yeah. But you know, to understand just the nature of each sign, and it's the most empowering thing to just understand people. And so I thought I would go through the 12 signs of the zodiac with my cards, and we look at best and when stressed, also the affirmations, and feel free to pause me at any time, Lia, or ask questions.
I'm going to. I was just waiting for you to take a breath.
I know. Can you tell I have an Aries moon?
I just have to wait for you to take the breath, which is a natural response, so I don't feel like I'm talking over you. Because as an Aries, I tend to ram through everything a lot. I do know that I am a fire sign, and I will blaze my path through if I need to. So guys, as you're in here, because I know there's a couple of you here that are watching live, go ahead and drop your sun signs, because I'm sure everybody knows their sun signs. If you know your moon and your rising as well, go ahead and throw those in there, because we can use them as examples as we're going through and we're talking about the synergistic combinations and how we can interact with each other, both with our clients, with our, people that we have on our teams, people that we work with in our work environments. And if you don't know them, you can pop them in, pop your birth dates in, and we can actually figure those out as we go along too. But definitely, we're always about making things practical. We're always about finding ways to make those connections and to really kind of ground it. And, when you're talking about the various energies and the different, zodiac signs, and you're talking about if you want to get something done, right? If you want to get something done, you give that to a generator, right? The generator is the one who's going to get stuff done. We're talking about Western astrology, not Vedic. So Vedic sun sign is Virgo and her Western sun sign is Libra. Interesting. I know there's difference in the different astrologies, and Western astrology is actually what's connected to human design as well. So while Vedics, the Vedic sun signs are obviously relevant, there's a whole nother way. And I'd love to know if Kauakea, if you have some insight on the difference between the two of those, I'd love to hear something.
Sure.
But just so everyone knows, like that is what, is in human design. It is our Western astrology that is brought in. That's where your sun signs and all of the energies. And the other thing I want you guys to kind of take away from this conversation is as we're going through these signs and getting these little notes, these also apply to the various gates that we're talking about. So at its best, this is the energy that your sun sign, this is what's ruling that gate. So there's layers to the gate, right? We talk about there being the gate itself, there's the shadow of the gate, there's the best side of the gate, and then there's like the epiphany of the gate. There's also the line that follows that gate, and then there's the energy, the ruling energy that is your astrology of that gate. So there's complications to our gate even when we're just looking at that. So even though like I'm at 3.1, so I am a 3, right? To begin with, I have a 1 line there, and that's also my Aries. That's my sun sign, right? So I have Aries energy that is a leader, a martyr, right? I'm running around as a leader who has to share information. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys that's where we're going. That's why we're doing this. I want you to understand the energy behind what's there as well, to dig a little deeper. Again, why? Because I'm a 1-3, and I have to tell you what's going on. So let's go. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Kauakea. We're going to talk about the different energies there. So what's the best way to go about memorizing our yin and yang signs of the zodiac and the elements that you got?
Well, let me answer first the difference between Vedic and Western astrology.
Yes, thank you for keeping me on track.
Vedic is a Indian practice that really is far more predictive. Western astrology is far more psychological. Carl Jung was a Western astrologer, and so there's really more shadow work, more psychological work. Vedic astrology can be very predictive. It can say, here's where you will get married, here's where you will start your career. In Western astrology, there's some prediction, but it's more based on psychological understanding of human nature. And so Dana, it said in Vedic, you're a Virgo, and then in Western, you're Libra, because there's a 20-some degree difference. And so Western is always the sign prior, unless, like for me, I'm 25 degrees Virgo, so I'm a Virgo in either system, because I'm late enough in that degree that I'm a Virgo in either system. So just a brief one on that. One of the ways to really learn astrology is by having some tactile way. It said in Vedic, you're a Virgo, and then in Western, you're Libra, because there's a 20-some degree difference. And so Western is always the sign prior, unless, like for me, I'm 25 degrees Virgo, so I'm a Virgo in either system, because I'm late enough in that degree that I'm a Virgo in either system. So just a brief one on that. One of the ways to really learn astrology is by having some tactile way. I'm just a really tactile person. And so here's the way I've done it is I've color coded these cards. The red cards are the fire signs. The green cards are the earth signs. The light blue are the air signs, and the dark blue are water signs. I do sell these on my website, just the zodiac cards alone, for $17. It's a really great way to learn it. So the red and the light blue cards are the fire and the air. And so sometimes it just takes really writing it down or finding a way to memorize it that is your learning style. And My learning style is to do hands-on kinesthetic. The workbook that is part of it, it's a coloring book. And so it's, not only do you lay your cards out to interpret your own chart, but here's Aries for you, Leah. This is Lydia Hess's artwork. And so we've partnered up with this so that, so if it's all in our heads and we don't find a way to connect it to something in our body, it can be very hard to memorize anything in astrology. And so this is, why I created Best Mystery School with these hands-on things. So I want to show you just briefly, this is, so we've partnered up with this so that, so if it's all in our heads and we don't find a way to connect it to something in our body, it can be very hard to memorize anything in astrology. And so this is, why I created Best Mystery School with these hands-on things. So I want to show you just briefly, this is when you go to the link that is the embodiment tool, you will be emailed this healing response to the zodiac. And it shows fire. These are passion signs to act. Earth signs, grounded in practicality. Air signs, communication, inspiration. Water signs, emotional flow. And then here's the 12 signs in their order, starting with spring equinox. Aries is fire. And you want to recognize these attributes in people you work with that are Aries. Wow, you're playful, you're spontaneous, you have courage, you like taking risks. And then, realize that at times they're going to be impatient. They might be too self-focused. And you just try to help them gently release these things, hold space. Can we hold space for one another? Taurus Earth can be very steadfast and, very good at pacing, very devoted to others, but they're stubborn and there's security issues there. Can we just accept our friends and, remind them of their positive attributes, but also know that, they may have security issues. And so let's be mindful of that. Gemini Air is a communicative sign, curious with ideas, but on a bad day, monkey mind can be very ungrounded, too wordy. Air signs can be really in their heads. Water sign Cancer, nurturing, emotionally sensitive. I call Cancers the one in the room who can exhale. When they hear someone exhale, they go, oh, wow, are you okay? Other people don't even hear the exhale, right? So, but Cancers are so sensitive, they can shut down or be smothering. So then Leos, the second fire sign, here we go through, here's the first four elements, fire, earth, air, water. Now we're going again through the same four. Leo, the second fire sign, is very creative, very heart-centered and generous. You can count on your Leo friends to help you with your creativity. Cultivate your friendships based on even just their sun sign. If you get to know their moon sign and you go down a little further, but Leos always lead with the heart. Unless they're stressed, then they have a big need for recognition and there can be drama there. Virgos are discerning, organized, health focused. If you're trying to get your health together, find a Virgo friend trying to get organized, talk to them. But they can also be worriers, be critical, be too focused. Libra Air, the mediator of fairness. Relationships are primary. Leah's got a Libra rising, and here she does the summits where she's bringing in everyone as equal partners. Let's, find the partnerships we need because the other is important. Aries and Libra are opposite. She's an Aries sun. She has a Libra rising, and it's your Leo moon.
It's a Leo moon, right?
With a Libra rising. There we got it. And so, people with Libra in their chart, they are going to be mediators of fairness. They are going to be relationships as primary. But they care about the relationship so much that sometimes they're insincere to keep the peace. But with her sun being in Aries, she's gonna tell it like it is. Those, those fire signs are always going to be direct, unless there's other things in the chart. Again, it's a big soup. It's an alchemy going on. Scorpio water is real, and there's tenacity, and they know intimacy, and they know how to feel, but there can be control and desire issues. Sagittarius is hopeful, loves learning and travel, but can be self-righteous and restless. Capricorn is mature and capable and hardworking, but can have judgment and expectations. Aquarius can be very unusual thinkers, big perspectives, but become aloof and detached. And then Pisces can be compassionate music lovers, compassionate listeners, but can be indecisive and escapist. And so, just kind of going through those 12 to look at, like, how do we identify how we can love ourselves for our strengths, and love our friends and our coworkers for what they bring naturally, and then hold space for the stress response. So any questions, anything else you want to say, Lia?
Absolutely. I always have something to say, don't I? Is there ever when I don't have something to say? I have something to say. So my question to you is what does the moon, we obviously know what the sun sign is. Our sun sign is our personality. Oh, that's what I want you to go through: the sun, the moon, and the rising. What do those mean in astrology? Like, why do I care about those three particular signs?
Right. So here's our sun sign for Vesta Mystery School, and here it is on the back: conscious, unconscious expression. The sun is how we shine our light. It's how we live our purpose. And if we are not living our purpose, we are not going to be shining our light. We have to have some purpose going on here. There can be being timid, or it can be an arrogance if we're not in conscious expression of our sun sign. Our moon sign, the goddess of emotions, is about feelings expressed in a natural way in response to the conditions of life. It is how we emotionally express ourselves and relate. And so the sign that our moon is in is so important in order to understand, like, we could be working and focused on our purpose. I'm very Virgo at times, but then my moon will come out and it's like, oh man, if I don't get to be spontaneous and let some of that Aries juice flow, I'm a pretty unhappy camper. I can't stay in Virgo details and not get some satisfaction emotionally from just being able to be the freedom of that Aries to be, fiery and jump in and try things, and that's good for my Virgo, because my Virgo is so particular and specific, and so then I alchemize that. I've been a professional photographer my whole life, and I noticed when I would do weddings, I'd be like, oh my God, there's so many details, but I could go really fast. And that was the combination of having a Virgo sun and an Aries moon. And I realized, wow, I've worked that. I've strengthened that. Then working those two together. The ascendant is based on the time you're born, and that's why it's so important to know the time you're born. Or the rising sign can change every 2 hours. And so if it's a few minutes, it's probably going to be the same rising sign. But that determines what house the planets fall in the chart. And so the houses are where the energies in your life play out. Is it in your career life? Is it in your, marriage life? Is it in your money, children, all of these things? And so we want to get that time correct to know that. But the rising sign is how I'm seen by others, outer behavior and vitality, my expression of self and approach to life, my physical appearance and persona, my university of lifelong learning. And the older we get, we embody our rising sign. And, anybody who talks what I call astrologies, they just want to know, what's your sun sign? What's your moon sign? What's your rising? Tell me these little pieces of information so I know how you're shining your light with your sun, and how you're going to emotionally respond with your moon, and with the ascendant, who you're becoming and how you present in the world, and so that's how I see those.
Awesome. And I want to kind of give you guys an idea too, to tie it back to our human design conversations, is that so there are 64 gates in the human design mandala. So if you look at that, they align with the different zodiac signs as well. If you've never looked at it very closely, you can actually see it aligns with that. You'll also notice that, and you would think that they would go 1 through whatever. The gates are not in an order. They're actual degrees that can actually be used. And so that's one of the reasons those gates, we look at those gates, and then what they align with in terms of the zodiac. And we go through those gates every 24 hours. The moon actually goes through all of those gates within 24 hours every day. The earth, our whole year takes an entire year to go through all of the gates. So it's every 6 days that we go through a gate, i.e. the 6 lines that we have. And that's how you get those. I'm just kind of breaking it down, guys, in case you don't know. This is how you get that information on your chart. This is where part of that comes from. So if you're at a 4-6, you were in the 4th gate, it was aligned with this particular energy, and you can look at your zodiac sign for that. And then we were on the 6th day of that particular, so we were about to shift over, as she was just saying, like it can be shifting every 2 hours or so. It's going to shift into another sign. So that's where that all comes from. Just kind of giving us a little tying and wrapping it together. So how do we work together with various signs? How can we utilize our own information to either be an attractant or a deterrent to those that are around us?
That's a very good question. I think that if we're in our own intuitive centers, and I call them the 3, the third eye, the heart, and the Tanden, the gut, the Na'au. And
I was going to say you're using the 3 main Hawaiian, and you want to give them you would go ahead and give them the you use Na'au, so go ahead and use the other term.
Amakua and Unihipili is the child self, and the Uhane. And so we have ways of tuning in to our own intuitive knowing. And when the head gets in the way and starts going, well, I should, or I could, and there's this push, which is not natural. And again, what we're looking at in human design and astrology, it's finding what's natural law. This is very Sagittarian, natural law, that when we're in, and I've listened to day 1 talks, and I was very impressed in hearing everyone sharing, which tunes in precisely to where I come from astrologically, which is that we're not forcing ourselves to do things that become unnatural for us, to take jobs we don't want, to have relationships, sometimes, we got to grow, we've got to stretch and all that. Not to say we have to be super comfortable all the time, but there's ways of trusting your own intuition that are so a part of this, which is being an earth being, really being in our bodies. And this is where I really combine the chakra healing, the sound healing with astrology, because when I do a lot of distance healing work now since COVID. And so we'll look at the chart and we'll look at the transits and say, okay, well, Pluto right now is on your sun. Okay. We better talk about this. Your ego's getting blown apart right now. Okay. So what's that about? And then we may do some toning to move that energy. And then we may do a meditation through the chakras. And I'll show you, this is another freebie when you sign up for that healing response to the zodiac. This is to move that energy. And then we may do a meditation through the chakras. And I'll show you, this is another freebie when you sign up for that healing response to the zodiac. This is my chakra affirmations. And by just, staying true in your own energy body so that you're not projecting and you're not being projected upon, but that you have your your hara, your core energy, and you know where you sit, and you know where your energy field begins and how far it goes out, and you can be around other people and feel whether they're invading you, whether, so all of that is, I think, just important from an intuitive level. But the inner work of being able to be grounded, to know what it is to be grounded, to know what your intuitive centers are telling you, and to strengthen your energy body so that the information that you're working with is not dissipating your energy. It's actually building your energy. And when we take in too much information, because we're in a culture that provides way too much information, and we don't have discernment, the very Virgo word, we are not going to be able to maintain that balance. And so, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. And you're talking about, you just mentioned, hey, we're in this energy right now. You're talking about transits. Obviously, we talk about transits in human design as well when we're talking about the various gates. And as we know, our gates are in different centers of our body, so they can activate different portions. So you mentioned your sacral's blown out right now. Yes, because all of a sudden either it's a planetary transit, or maybe it's somebody who's in your aura, someone who's in your space who has that defining gate for you. When we talk about the hanging gates, that is now oversensitizing that particular center for you. So again, obviously blowing that out is kind of just the tie up of those two together. Guys, if you have any questions, please make sure you're dropping them into the chat. We're more than happy. I'm sure Kauakea will answer just about anything you have to ask her in regards to, just the foundational level, because that's where we're getting at. We really want to break it out and make sure that you understand where the astrology is in our human design. Like, why is it a part of it to begin with? And that's where we're making the connections between my knowledge and her knowledge, and really making those connections for you. So go ahead. I'm like, I think I need to take a drink really quick. Hold on.
Sure. It's interesting because astrologically, the moon goes through all 12 signs in a single month and is in each sign for 2.5 days. And then there's 8 phases of the moon. And so I work with, this is a Greek journal called Eliphe that I use in my courses, that has pages for journaling on every full moon and new moon in it. And because of my history with Fodiava and around the moon cycles and how important it was to tune into a more balanced feminine approach to living, following the moon, being able to journal and set new moon intentions. For about 9 years, I held new moon gatherings on Oahu and Kaneohe, where I lived. And we'd play music, we'd sing, we'd dance. And if people brought their chart, I would tell them what house that particular moon falls in. So this is the area of your life you want to be setting your intentions on. And I just think that these are practical ways without, again, falling too far in the rabbit hole where you can't go to work and take care of your children or something because astrology is taking over your brain. You're so in love with it. And people just do, they can get very turned on to this stuff. But then there's, again, Virgo, I'm in the practical, like, okay, I use the We Moon journal as my date book. I make sure that if I'm scheduling, not anymore a trip, but say something important that I'm planning, I always look to see what moon cycle is that in. Is that during a moon void, of course? Is the moon waxing, building, or waning? There's so many ways that you can just work naturally to make decisions, practical decisions about timing of things. Mm-hmm. And so, as you brought that up about human design and those cycles, that's another thing that astrology is just, I'm so grateful for astrology, getting married after losing my former husband and taking that risk again. If I didn't know my current husband's astrology chart, there is just no way I would understand what I got myself into. And I'm like, okay, this is what's playing out. Let me understand what my part in all this is. Let me just accept this best I can and try to really get the learning from this. He's got so much Libra in his chart. It's so much equilibrium for me. And but it's a completely different energy than I've been around. So rather than being like, wait a minute, I want it my way, I want it this way, it's like, let's look at what is this learning opportunity bringing for me. And that's, I'm sure, what human design is all about too, from what I'm listening to. And so
absolutely. And
yeah.
as you mentioned, we actually talked about using your human design chart and in using it in combination with moon cycles when it comes to time management and how to actually better utilize your time and actually using the energy of the day of the week in terms of the ruling energies of that day as well. So that's something that also we kind of come into terms with. How can we balance our astrological signs with our human design, with how we activate our lives and how we are operating and functioning in our daily ins and outs.
Right.
And especially as business owners, how do we utilize that to our best capabilities? And we're talking about, the 4 major moon phases and like just knowing that we've got times to release and times that you need to relax and times that you are going to be more productive and that's the time to schedule those client calls. That's the time to schedule those big projects. It's not the time to, relax and vice versa. So we've actually tied that right back into where we are right now in Rebecca's session, which was day 1 as well. I do believe she was day 1. We were talking about time management, which has always been a struggle for me at time management in general.
Yeah.
Dana asked, she's been wondering, the last day is whether we can see our past lives in astrology and in the human design chart. And if you're looking at your human design chart, you've got yourself in north nodes, and that's where your south node is where you're coming from, and your north node is where you're going to. And it's the same exact terminology that we use in astrology. You want to go with that one, Kauakea?
Yeah. The nodes are so important. The learning about my south node and what I call the well-worn path of familiarity. It can be a strength. It can be like, okay, I've always done this and I'm good at it and I want to keep doing it because it's giving me the results. But the north node is the stretch, and the north node is a new way. And it sometimes feels like a baby learning to walk. And so where the north node is your growth. It's your spiritual growth. And there's an excellent book I recommend called Astrology for the Soul by Jan Spiller that is 40 pages for each sign north node. And it changed my life. It really did. I have a south node in Aries as well as my moon, and my north node's up there in Libra. So I'm here to learn Libra. And then here I married this man with Libra rising and Libra moon. And both my children are Libras, so it's very fascinating to really understand. And again, it's about awareness. Once you get the awareness that, like, here's my go-to, and I unconsciously do it, and I'm always, feel safe there, and it's familiar, and so I go to that place. And so in astrology, and maybe this way for human design, opposites are medicine. And so the north and the south node are actual points on either side of the moon. They're not actually planetary bodies. And that south node, because of its familiar, comfortable, invitation, and also because our ego likes to feel that we're good at stuff, we need to feel confident. And so just know that where your south node is a strength you have. It is something you've worked on. It is something that you really know how to do. But the medicine is the opposite sign. If, say, you've got 5 planets in Leo in your chart, you need some Aquarius energy to balance that out, the opposite signs, so that you can gain perspective. You know, the opposite signs bring the medicine to bring the midpoint. And there's lots of things in astrology about midpoints. There's a whole Uranian astrology that's very midpoint based. I do couples composite reports, which are only $15, but it's your chart, their chart, and the midpoint. So that, okay, your midpoint sun is this. So the relationship has the sun in this sign, and it's halfway between their sign and sun sign and your sun sign. It does that for every planet in the chart. And that those relationship composite midpoints can be like, this is what our relationship energy, you know, it's a little focus point into it. But, you know, the nodes are so important. And I was glad to listen to one of the talks in human design that's also, that north node is a focal point in human design. So maybe you want to go back to that a little bit too.
Yeah, that was a conversation I think we had with Krista, and Krista was talking about your north node being part of your messaging. And a lot of times it is part of your messaging. It helps you kind of define, it defines your role, like what part of what your role is and how you can provide your messaging to other people. Again, it's a definition. It gives you a target out there to go hit. It doesn't tell you what it is. So we also talk about it with our, because the north and south node also play a little bit of a role in that as well. You said that book was Astrology for the Soul, right?
Astrology for the Soul by Jan Spiller.
Got it. And I just wanted to make sure I had the right one before I put it in.
Yeah. Really, it's a classic. Jan Spiller's no longer on this earth with us, but she did some amazing work. Any book by her, I really highly recommend. There's just so many astrologers out there to follow, and it's good to try to find your touchstones, the people that when they speak, you know, goes in to your cells and you benefit from it, you know, in that way. So I'm kind of wondering where to go next, Lia, if we should look at the zodiac cards, or if there's questions, or you want to know more about Vesta Mystery School, or where do you think we should go right now?
Absolutely. So of course, you know, opening the room, there's always time for chats, and there's always room for questions. So if anybody has any particular questions, please pop them in. We'll answer those. Otherwise, you know, why don't we take a look at the cards and really kind of get an understanding of the basics, the foundations again. And I think we had a couple people come in here and tell us what we only had the one who told us what their sign is. So if you know what your sign is, you know, if you would like to know the highlights of that, that's what those cards are all about. You know, pop it in there, because a couple of you guys came in a little later. So please pop your sun sign in, is what we're talking about. You know your other signs too, and then we can use the cards to go through that kind of information.
Sure. So if anybody has that in the chat box, I'll stop on that card and read it a little more in depth. But I'm going to screen share again. And so we're going to just start with the beginning. And, you know, if we look at human life as being these 12 stages of evolution of the 12 zodiac signs, Aries is often thought of as the warrior, but it's also the baby. It's just this spontaneous spark of life that is beginning. And so Aries says, I'm direct and I take action based on my instincts. I'm courageous and self-reliant. And I trust my will and assert myself with strength and boldness. But when stressed, you know, I'm selfish, impatient, with tendencies to rush. I just so work on my rushing, man. So I'm not going to read the full thing, but I'll read the first sentence on these so that we don't go too long. So the second phase of human evolution with the 12 zodiac signs is once that we come out like the baby and we're on fire to get started and move, then we look at where do we land on Earth and how do we feel security and how do we rest. And Taurus says, I'm dependable and steadfast. I value security and I rest easy with Mother Earth. And it's slowing down, enjoying the comforts of touch and food, taking care of the body, being patient, valuing money and security. This is feeling the root chakra. It's an earth sign. And so the spark of life comes out with fire. Then we're here. We've got to get grounded on the earth. But when Taurus is stressed, they can be too stubborn, insecurity oriented, lazy, and unmotivated. They also sometimes need sleep and go very slow when they're stressed. So here we go, Kashina, Gemini, Sun. So air sign, I'm curious and I see both sides of every situation. I'm friendly and communicative. So we've been born, we've gotten secure on the earth, and now we're beginning to babble. Gaga goo goo. We're seeing if other people are going to babble back to us, I'm friendly and communicative. I'm awesome at networking and making friends. I learn easily. I'm bright and articulate. But when stressed, I'm wordy, ungrounded, easily distracted, not able to commit. I get interested in so many things, I'm not able to focus. And so the Gemini mind is quick, fast. Taurus, slow. Aries, fast, Almost all the yang signs of fire and air are going to be fast, and water and earth much slower. So here we have Cancer. I am family oriented and love being at home. I'm sensitive to the needs of others. At best, I'm nurturing and I like to have people I love nearby. I notice the needs of others in sensitive ways. But when stressed, I'm private and shut down. I become insecure and moody. And, all the water signs aren't necessarily language based. The air signs are best at language. The water signs are very good at feelings, but sometimes you don't know what they're feeling because they can't articulate it. It's very deep and it's hard to put into words. And then here you go again, Kashina, Leo rising. So I am a leader who expresses from my heart. I'm playful and I like to take risks. At best, I'm a creative being. My path is directed by joy. I'm self-confident, dynamic in the powerful ways that I show up. And when stressed, I'm domineering and prideful. I need constant attention. I need to be recognized or I doubt my own creative ability. Very much part of Leo's world. Fifth stage of evolution. We've gone through the first 4 elements of being born, of getting secure on the earth, of learning how to communicate, of knowing who our family is and how to know where our home is. And now we're coming back out to fire again, which is like, now I'm going to express myself. Now I'm going to throw some paint on a canvas, and I'm not doing it in a very refined way. I'm just going to find out what happens. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to have fun. And so that's Leo's job. Then the 6th stage of the zodiac, Virgo, refines it all. But Leos are not there yet. So they're still looking for a little feedback from others about, hey, I've been generous and shining my light. Did that work for you? And they need to be appreciated and recognized. So appreciate our Leo friends like Lia, who's so generously giving to us here. So then here we go. Catherine, who has a Virgo moon. Virgo, earth sign again. I'm discerning and like to refine, focus, and organize so that I may be of service. Ultimately, Virgos want to be of service. Let a Virgo know when they've been of service, and they'll feel like finally they can kind of take a pause. They've been of service. They'll get off their little hamster wheel of doing. I'm discriminating. I take excellent care of my health. I'm efficient and have great attention to detail. But what happens when stressed? I worry, obsess, I overanalyze, and I have perfectionistic standards. This whole idea of I can't stop trying to improve everyone and everything, Virgos, take a break. Get out of Virgo jail, and I think I just want to say those first 6 signs of the zodiac are the first 6 houses of the astrological wheel. And they have to do with the journey of the self. Once we get into the next 6 signs of the zodiac, we are coming out and starting to have relationships with others, and we're coming out and being in the world. And then we're eventually, in the 12th house wanting to complete and go home to God. And so there's something else I was going to say here. Well, let's go back to the cards. It'll come here. But so once we've refined our own personal, well, let's go back to the cards. It'll come here. But so once we've refined our own personal journey, then we're ready to have a relationship. Libra, the seventh sign of the zodiac. So I'm relationship oriented. I value cooperation, balance, and harmony. I'm fair, I'm easygoing, I'm diplomatic in my relationships. I prefer doing things with others, partnership. But when stressed, I'm dependent and find it hard to act alone. I give my power away and I'm a people pleaser. And this is Libra's dilemma, is I'm so relationship oriented, I sometimes forget about me. And again, it's good if you have some Aries and Libra in your chart, because then you have your sense of self and the sense of the importance of the other. And Libra really is about one-on-one relationships, And then we move into Scorpio, again, water, that says I'm passionate and concentrated. I feel deeply and I'm able to face intensity. These guys make great ER doctors and nurses. I'm able to connect with others authentically. I'm resilient, persistent, and this is about, people think Scorpio, sex, but it really is about authentically being able to be intimate, being authentic, not being afraid of feelings, diving deep into feeling land and just being okay with that. But Scorpio, when stressed, is controlling, covert, and overly private. They can be also create drama and power struggles when they don't get what they want. And they can be a little bit down into the darkness, because they feel so deeply. But they can also help people with grief and walk with them, and the dark isn't scary for a Scorpio. It's just part of life. So we're back again to fire, and here's Sagittarius. So this, Catherine, is your sun. And Sagittarius says, I'm adventurous and a seeker of wisdom and learning from all culture and religions. I'm optimistic and honest. Everything is about finding meaning and how the universe works. And Sagittarius is known as the travel sign, but it's about traveling in order to learn and expand the mind. What better way to do it than to go exploring another culture, another religion, the ways other people eat and the foods they eat. And, this is why Sagittarius is the seeker. But when stressed, because they think everyone should be a seeker and always want higher understanding and meaning to life, they can be self-righteous and superior. They can be restless. They can be impatient with other people and their subjective truths or feelings, And so then we're moving back to Earth again with Capricorn. I'm capable and responsible. I understand how the world works and my part in it. So I'm reliable, patient. I make plans that manifest. The little goat is climbing the mountain one step at a time. But when stressed, Capricorn can be judgmental and overly cautious and really kind of look at the world like, grow up and come on, be adult, go make money. This is the voice of dad. Its ruling planet is Saturn. So it's very much, about being in the world. And then here, Aquarius, I am a unique individual with original ideas. I see things from a broad perspective. Woo, Aquarius. So because Jupiter and Saturn were in Capricorn along with Pluto for Saturn was there 2.5 years, Jupiter's there a year, and now they've moved into Aquarius. We're having this big opening into Aquarius energy right now. And that's being able to see the whole picture, find innovative solutions which serve humanity. We're seeing that in our government. Aquarius is a super humorous sign, man. If you need some quirky, weird friends, find an Aquarius to be your friend. They have a lot of experimental, weird, scientific ideas. They love community. They see things from very different perspectives. But when they're stressed, they become detached and aloof. they act like they really don't care, but they see things from such a broad perspective. Sometimes being personal is difficult for them, and they can feel like a misfit or that they're superior in their intelligence too. So it's a little bit challenging. Here's our 12th and final sign. So again, once we've gone out and seen the world, I want to do a recap on these four. And these are from the 9th to the 12th houses. These are the signs that rule those houses. We've gone out and seen the world. We build something in the world that's of value to society here in Capricorn. And we are part of a community, and we're part of something bigger than us in Aquarius. And then with Pisces, we just want to merge back home into the light, into the sound. You know, we're done, we're complete. But because Pisces feel everything, they're a dreamer, ever hoping for heaven on earth. Oh, they so want heaven on earth. And, you know, they're beautiful artists and they're beautiful musicians, and they have all this tenderness, and they're so compassionate. They'll listen to your story for hours. So their stress response is that they can hang out in their imagination and feel easily victimized. The world is too harsh for them at times. They can not have good boundaries. They can be super impressionable. And so, you know, this is a way to understand that, you know, when I first started doing readings, people would ask me, is that good? Is that bad? Is that good? Is that bad? What you gonna do with it? You know, it's all about what you do with it. And it's all about your conscious awareness. And there is nothing good or bad in astrology. I'm sure it's the same in human design. There's just nothing that is defined by some outer authority as its energy. And it's like a tool. Your natal chart, your star map, your birth chart is like tools in a toolbox that you can take with you all the time and say, I'm going to take out my Virgo and do this. I'm going to use, you know, my Sagittarius right now for this, you know. And usually people have at least 6 of these zodiac signs, if not more, in their natal chart at the time of their birth. And so knowing just your sun, moon, and rising is the start to understand how to use those 3 energies. That's always the starting point. And until you begin to really ground into that and know what that is, then just expand out, look at the rest of the chart, and understand that recipe, that alchemy of like, why am I like this when I'm with this person? But when I'm with this person, I'm like this, you know? And it's like, wow, you know, certain fire friends bring out this really spontaneous part of me, or the family makes me really conservative, or, you know, and that is all in the chart because of the houses and where these planets play out. And you can just get to know yourself, you know thyself, self-realization before God realization. That's, to me, what it's all about.
Absolutely. And that's a wrap. That's, you know, that's it. They're all tools. That's what we're here. That's what we're here for. That is what the Recalibrate and Rise Summit is for. That is what the Human Design Yogis community is for. It's an experimental lab. It's to give you the tools to equip you to be able to design and create your enviable life, the life that you desire to have. And the more tools and the more awareness you bring to your own functionality in the world, the easier it is for you to work with everybody else. Because then you have a better understanding, not only of how you can operate within that system, but also understand what energies are yours, what energies are not yours, and where you need to shift. Maybe you just need to walk away. We talked about this earlier this morning with Tiffany when she was talking about how she came from an astrological perspective to human design, and how it made sense, and how one is kind of like the trajectory, the bird's eye view, which is the way she looks at astrology, is the bird's eye view, and the human design helps to ground that into a plane view that you can see on this level. But it's nice to be able to take the outside perspective and then come inside to it. And that's what we want to do. We want to break it apart so you guys can do this. So if you guys like this little segment, if you like this idea, I'm really, really leaning. I'm feeling it. But again, it could just be my 1-3 energy that wants to know everything, that wants to learn everything. that says, oh, well, I want to know how the Kabbalah actually fits into human design. How does the actual chakra system fit into human design? How does quantum physics fit into human design? So if you guys are geeked out by that, like I am, please let me know. If you're not, then I won't go in that direction. But I'm giving you guys, I'm putting out my manifestor energy of my manifesting generator to have something to respond to. I'm just letting you guys know. So again, thank you so much, Kauakea, for joining us today, for breaking things down, making it so simple and easy to understand and making it approachable, because I think that's what's really important. I've always felt that astrology is unapproachable. It's so hard to understand because there's so many moving parts and so many things to define that I've always been just, I won't say put off by it, but just not able to attach myself to it in a way that I understood and could actually apply it in life. But I love the way that you approach it, and I love the way that you present it. So it makes it, again, that Virgo grounding level so that people get it. They understand what we're doing here. So
I just want it to be accessible so that people can relate. And I have a class coming up. I only do 6 students at a time on February 12th on the Lunar New Year, and there's 4 spots left. So if people are interested, it's on my website that's on your page.
And yep, and that is on the watch page. You guys can go and click right there on her face, and it'll bring up her website, take you guys over there so that you can check out all of her information. And if it's more interesting, if there's more info that you want, she's got it there available for you. So I just want to take a quick moment and just give a big, big thank you to all of the speakers, an amazing thank you to all of you who showed up live, and an even bigger thank you to those of you who are watching this on replay, because you're taking time out of your life, out of your day, out of your weekends, out of your nights to come and learn about yourself. Give yourself the props, because you're taking the time to become a better you so that you can show up and be the leader that we all need in the world to be a bigger and better person, because that's what we're looking for. And that's what I'm hoping to be able to provide more equipping of, is to allow us to create the leadership that we're looking for, that we really solely need. And by knowing yourself, you're able to better be a leader for yourself and for other people. So again, thank you so much for showing up. I hope that you guys enjoyed the 12 speakers. And I would love, again, for you to go into the Facebook group, go on your social media, give some shout outs either to the speakers, give some shout outs to the summit itself. Let me know what resonates for you. Let me know what you didn't get, what you thought, like, why did you even talk about that? It didn't even make sense. Again, the more you give us responses, the more feedback you give us, the easier it is for us to tailor craft these summit sessions to grow on another level. And I will tell you, the next summit is going to be coming up mid-March. So if you want to check that out, the information is going to probably drop around the end of February. Obviously, if you're in the group, you're going to find out about it first. If you're part of our network, you're going to find out about it first. But right now, it's looking like it's going to shape up in the terms of relationships. Yes, mid-March already. Yes. We're going to look at relationships. We're going to look at your human design and your relationships to yourself, to your partners, your family members, and to your children. Because to me, and if you actually know why Ra brought this forth, it's really supposed to be an amazing tool for us as parents to be able to equip us to be better leaders for our children, because we can better understand them. It gives you that human design manual, or that manual that, they tell you, you don't bring your kids home with the manual. Well, guess what? Ra brought one for you. All you have to do is figure out what your kid's human design is, and you can actually learn so much more. So I'm really feeling like that's the direction we're going to go. And I'm already getting some responses to that. So do pay attention, and check out the Facebook group later this evening, because I will be announcing the winners for the the 3 days of homework and then the grand prize winner. So there's actually going to be 4 giveaways, and the 4th giveaway is actually an HD2 yoga session, a Kundalini yoga guidance for your human design from me. So I will talk about you guys. Well, I'll talk to you guys later is what I want to say. I'm going to talk about you guys later, which I'm probably going to do too. But I'm going to go rest now because that's when my manifesting energy needs to do. So have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, guys. We will see you back here in just a few.